Hello, my name is Stuart Harrison, the author of the Following Your Heart ebook series. The purpose of this message is to talk to you about the concept of fear, and particularly how fear can prevent us from taking the first step in stopping drinking, whether it's for a short period of time or whether it is indefinitely. And if I can just begin by introducing myself, I am in the true sense an alcoholic. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I was addicted to binge drinking for the majority of my adult life up until my early 20s, mid-20s. And I was absolutely drowning in fear. My drinking was a consequence of fear, both perceived and not. And certainly the ability to take the first step in that process was extremely hard. So this message is going to be quite a personal one, and if you find this message of interest, I would also encourage you to have a look at the ebook that we have available on the Hello Sunday Morning site entitled Following Your Heart, Discovering the Teacher Within, where I talk about my journey with drinking in more detail. So let's talk about fear. Fear is a concept. For me, I believe that in life there is one continual stream of energy or consciousness, and at one end you have fear and at the other end you have joy or love. I use the word joy or love in the same context. It's almost like black to white, and the reality is that it's exactly the same piece of energy. Fear in essence is a very strong creative force. Fear can propel us and motivate us to do many things. In this situation, a lot of people feel fearful about taking the first step in stopping drinking for a period of time. And the first thing that I'd ask people to reflect on is, well, what are you fearful of? What are you fearing in stopping drinking, whether it's for 30 days, 60 days, or 3 months? What are you really fearing? The reality is that the energy of the fear that we feel when we first want to take that step in stopping drinking has the same potential to help us to overcome the fear and to allow us to go through the process that we advocate within Hello Sunday Morning, and that is to take the journey. So let's go back a step. Fear is on a continuum of complete fear paralysis, I can't take a step forward, to complete joy, complete love, complete satisfaction. There is a continuum with fear. And if we come to Hello Sunday Morning and we think this is a concept that I could embrace, but I'm just fearful of taking that first step, what allows us and can help us to take that first step is to accept the fear. And so I would ask you to reflect, what are you fearful of? This is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Because if we can accept and face that fear, not yet overcome it, just accept it and bring it to the surface, it will then allow us to take the next step. And the next step is the first step. The first step in stopping drinking for a period of time is accepting that I'm fearful of it and that it's fine to be fearful of not wanting to drink. Let's talk about fear in a slightly different context. For myself, I was extremely fearful of stopping drinking for several reasons. One, it was a coping mechanism to deal with my emotional pain of my childhood and to deal with some of the challenges I was facing in life at that point. And I was fearful for just many, many complicated reasons. I think the biggest thing, though, that I feared was who I would become if I stopped drinking. I was thinking about social settings. How could I go out and socialise with my friends? They all drink, but I wouldn't. Who would I become? Who would I become? For me, I was in an extreme. I was an extreme binge drinker, and my coping mechanism was to get extremely drunk. And overcoming that was one challenge. Accepting that I could actually be someone who was not drunk was another challenge altogether. And so for most people, when we think about fear of giving up, we're actually kind of fearful of what we might become. Not who we are right now, but what we might become. So I want to come back to this fear, joy, love continuum. On one side we have fear, complete paralysis, can't take a step forward, and on the other side we've got joy and love. So let's think about it. Who I am over here is fearful, and what's possible for myself over here is who I could become if I stop drinking. Let's take the first step. If I can accept that I am fearful, if I can accept that I feel fear, I can use the energy of that to step forward to overcome the fear of what I really would like to be. And for most of us, within our soul, within our heart, we don't really want to have the hangover. We don't want to have that feeling. Drinking for most of us is a mask. There is a masking of some description. And if we can ask ourselves, honestly, ask ourselves that question, why am I fearful? We may find out the reason as to why we're drinking in the first place. And if we can do that and bring that to the surface, it gives us the energy, it moves us forward through the illusion of taking the first step. The first step is almost not a step in itself, it's just something that happens. So if we break this down, fear in essence is a continuum. It's got the same energy of taking action to taking no action. It's just simply how we look at it. For most of us, we are fearful of what we could become if we stop drinking. That's actually more scary for us than anything else. What will I be perceived as? And this is the thing that we need to spend quite a bit of time on, and this is why Hello Sunday Morning is such a brilliant tool in helping people deal with this fear. So for me in my personal journey, I feared my identity. My identity was that of someone who could drink and would drink a lot. And my identity that I really wanted for myself wasn't someone that was full of pain and full of hangovers. That really, really scared me. Because if I'm not who I am right now, then who the hell am I? So taking the first step, it's hard. Let's accept that. If you can accept that, you'll give yourself the energy to actually do it in the first place. The funny thing about taking the first step is that what is the worst that's going to happen? You're going to wake up. You're going to be clean. You're going to be clear. Your body is going to thank you. The energy of that will propel you to take the very next step, and that's probably another journey in itself. So I encourage you, taking the first step, don't think of it as a step, just think of it as something that happens in this process. So what? A glass of water. It's easy. I hope you've enjoyed this message. Drinking is something that it's not really the problem. Why we drink is something that we need to think about. We'll talk about that in another message. Thanks very much.